Good morning, good evening, and good night, everybody. My name is Sarah, and today we are talking about all the book series I need to finish. Now, last week I talked about all the book series I had no intention of finishing, and during that video I made a comment saying I'm just really bad at picking up the sequels or the finales of all the book series I really want to read. And so I finally figured I should call myself out on that and make a list of all the books I need to get to. Like, I own most of these, I just haven't gotten around to reading them. So with that all being said, let's dive on in. Book series number 1, one of the oldest books. I think it was the first book I reviewed on this channel. I still haven't completed the series, and that is the Stainless Steel Rat series. This is an old pulp sci-fi series. It has I think 14 books in it. I'm reading in publication order. I'm trying to make my way through this. There's some things I really love about the book and some things I really don't. Every time I think about picking up the next book, I can only focus on the bad things. Like, I enjoy reading them. It just takes me a hot second to convince myself of that. So I have read the first 4 books in this series all the way up until The Stainless Steel Rat Runs for President, which is, I believe, book 5. I need to get to it. I need to read it. It's not that hard. I own the book. It just happens to be back in California. All the audiobooks are up on YouTube. They're ridiculously short. I think they're like 2 hours long, honestly. It is a great and fun story. I just always forget I'm supposed to be reading it, because as much as I love sci-fi, I always put it on the back burner in terms of I want to read the next high fantasy that's 800 pages versus an old sci-fi pulp fiction which is 200 pages. I always forget which one I'm supposed to be reading, and I really should get around to reading this one. The Stainless Steel Rat is a series that is set way off in the future. All of crime has basically been eradicated. The universe is at peace. And there's a special corps that is meant to hunt down the last remaining criminals, the Stainless Steel Rats, the rats of society that has survived into the future. And our main character, Slippery Jim, is the best of the best. He's the best criminal out there. And then one day the corps is like, hey, you're obviously way better than we could ever do. We've been hunting you for years and we've caught you once just to have this conversation. And so they offer him a position in the corps to hunt down other criminals. And that is the entire plot of this series. It's so cool. It deals with spy and infiltration and just being awesome and thief. And at some point there's time travel involved, and he has a family, and then his family's nothing but criminals, and it's a great time. It's such a great time. Again, it is really old sci-fi, so females are kind of stuck in the I have a body and that is my whole point of my existence. But the main villain of the first book ends up being a very central female role in the remaining of the series, and she is amazing. I love her so much. She is just awesome, and she could totally kill the main character anytime she wants, but she won't. And I just love their dynamic. It's great. So like I said, I have this book back in California, so hopefully I will attempt to read book 5 over spring break, but we'll see, because I have a lot of other books I've been meaning to get to. The next series I need to continue is the Wheel of Time series. So I've read book 1, The Eye of This World, the giant floppy book, and I need to read book 2, The Great Hunt. I have that on hold in my library. It is coming in eventually. I really hope. It says it's going to be available soon, but available soon just means within the next month. So I love this book. It's very much Hobbit and Lord of the Rings inspired, but as the series goes on, it kind of takes on its own identity. So if you want that kind of grand adventure through a magical world with trials and tribulations and characters learning who they are and who they are from where they were from and who they are at the end of the story is not the same, this book really, it focuses a lot on that. It takes the group of our main characters out of their tiny village on the edge of the kingdom and travels off to fight the big bad. And through their journey, they learn about magic and identity, and I want to see what book 2 is all about. I don't know if it follows the same characters. This is a long series, and I cannot wait to continue it, but each book is massive. So I think the audiobook for this, which was about 750 pages, the audiobook was 36 hours long, so it's gonna take me a hot sec to get through this series, but I really want to. I love this series so much. It was so disorientating when I finished reading this book, because I came back into this world and I'm like, well, this world sucks. So I cannot wait to read book 2. Book 1 was amazing, and I just cannot wait. The next book series, when I started reading, I didn't even know it was a series, and now I need to continue it. That's the Howl's Moving Castle series. Book 2, The Castle in the Sky. I don't believe it follows any of the same characters, but book 1 was made into a Studio Ghibli movie, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. And I want to see if the magic and the wonder of this world continues on to book 2. Book 1 is all about this girl named Sophie. She's the eldest of the siblings. In this world, the eldest child is always going to be the one to fail first. So she was setting up life like she's just going to take over her father's hat shop and that be her entire life. Until one day, the moving castle comes into town. Everyone knows who Howl is. He's this evil wizard who eats the hearts of young ladies to stay pure forever. Sophie ends up getting cursed by the Wicked Witch of the Waste, and in a state of shock, she believes the only person who can help her is Howl, who is moving through her town in this giant castle. And so she wanders off as an old lady, like 80-year-old Sophie, wanders in the mountainside to go find this evil wizard, and she has to convince him, no, take me on as your housekeeper, first of all, because your castle is disgusting. Second of all, you need to fix this curse. But she can't tell anyone about the curse. That's part of the curse. So it's all about relationship and found family and magic, and in the movie you don't get anything of Howl's backstory, and it has a completely different take on the ending, but the book is so magical and wonderful, and it ties it back into so many things, and I want to see what book 2 is about, because again, I believe it follows different characters. It's about this merchant and flying carpets and castles in the sky, and I'm so excited. Like, I'm so excited. I'm just waiting for the day I can get my hands on this book. The next book series I need to finish, it's like not even an excuse why I haven't finished it, and that is the Renegade series, because I haven't read book 3, Supernova. I love this series so much. This world is set in a society where superpowers have risen up and destroyed the world, and then the superheroes about 20 years ago decided, no, we're done with the Age of Anarchy, and took over the world and trying to bring it back into peace. Our main character, the girl that we follow, is actually the niece of the lead villain, and she is sent into superhero society to try to infiltrate them and take them down and bring back the Age of Anarchy, and it's so cool, and it has a star-crossed lover story where, like, her love interest is actually the son of the 2 greatest heroes who happen to be gay husbands. They're amazing and wonderful, and I love the fact that this world just casually, the 2 greatest superheroes in the world are just in love with each other, and you get to see their family dynamic, and then you get to see Nova, our main character's family dynamic, with her relationship with all the villains that she lives with after they were forced underground by the heroes. Like, in the first book, she lives in a subway cart. Like, it's amazing, and I love the world building, and I love the power system, and it's so cool. You guys know I love the dynamic between good and evil and finding that third path of what you're going to choose. I technically have an excuse why I haven't read this. I have the audiobook on hold at the library. It's going to be like another 10 weeks, and so I really struggle to read long books, like physically. I'm stupid, I can't read well, and I'm waiting for it to come in, and I'm dying to read this. Another series I'm going to finish, I swear, I'm just waiting on the library book, and that is book 2 of The Children of Blood and Bones. It's on hold in the library. Just gonna be another 16 weeks before I can read it. Like, I want to read Children of Virtue and Vengeance. It is a West African inspired fantasy where, like, long time ago, like, maybe like 20 years ago, not that long ago, magic was wiped from the land when the king decided to kill everyone capable of magic, and everyone born with white hair had a sign that they were meant to have magic, but even the kids born after the massacre who had the white hair, they were incapable of magic. So our main character is like, you know what? I want magic. So she goes off and tries to restore magic. And then we have different points of view with, like, the prince of the king, who is like the one who killed all the magic, and then also the daughter, and it's all about, like, tropes and love triangles, trying to restore magic to a land, and trying to convince people that just because it was what they were taught doesn't mean it's right. And it's so cool and fascinating, and I know book 2 came out like the very end of December. I still haven't read it yet because I'm waiting on my library, so eventually I'll finish the series. Eventually. Walking away from fantasy for a hot second, we're going to talk about the Sherlock Holmes series. This is kind of a contemporary murder mystery series. It all follows the descendants of Sherlock Holmes and John Watson. Sherlock Holmes and Jamie Watson, they are attending a boarding school in America, and while they're there, a murder happens, and everyone wants to blame Charlotte, but Jamie's like, hey, no, let's follow in our ancestors' footsteps. Let's solve this mystery. And it's cool, and it's awesome, and I've only read book 1 because I do have some problems with the writing style, and I know there's a lot of trigger warnings. There's sexual assault and rape and drug use, and it's not a book for the faint of heart despite its really pretty cover. Like, you think it would, and it's not that long, but it's just kind of those, like, it's the series you have to walk into carefully. So I still haven't read book 2, The Last of August, which is focused on the Moriarty descendants, and I think it's going to be fascinating and interesting. I want to know what's up, but at the same time, that I know it focuses a lot on Charlotte and August's like relationship, and that's going to be a lot of age difference and just drug use, and it has a lot of things I'm not entirely comfortable reading. So I want to get to this series someday, I just don't know when that day will be. Going back into fantasy, this time kind of more of an older series, and that is the Abhorsen series. So I've read the first 3 books in this series, and I'm still working on getting to book 4, Clariel, which I don't know. I think it follows a different character. So book 1 was one character, book 2 and 3 were the next character, which is like the next generation. I think book 4 is the next generation after that. It all follows a family of Abhorsens, who are the people who are in charge of keeping the dead in the ground. In this world, death isn't really permanent. You can be brought back to life as long as you don't pass through a certain number of gates in the afterlife. Once you pass like gate 6, you're not coming back. You're actually dead. So there's a lot of necromancers around who bring people back before they come from the last gate, and the Abhorsen is the one like, hey, it ain't working like that. You gotta go back. And so it's all about the magic of the bells and like beasts, and it's so cool, and it has old magic in it, and I love it. I was just a little thrown off about how book 2 and 3 were about the same character, even though book 1 was about a different character. It felt a weird structuring in my mind. So I want to read book 4. I really do. I'm very fascinated by the concept of death and the way that the afterlife is set up and the magic and the bells, and it sounds so cool and interesting. And I know it is. I like the writing style. I just haven't gotten around to picking up book 4, which I need to. I really do. There's more books after this. I need to get to them. Now this next series I want to continue like probably earlier than the others because I absolutely love this series, and that was the Gentleman Bastard series. Book 1 is Lies of Locke Lamora. This is a wonderful fantasy book that focuses on a group of criminals. You all know I love books that follow a story of criminals and thieves, and it's so cool. Locke Lamora, we get to see him in the very beginning of his life and in his current state where he's pulling off the biggest heist to ever be pulled. He's trying to rob the kingdom, which is so cool. He is set to be worshipping this mysterious 13th deity, which is all about criminals and thieves and awesomeness. And he and his band of other orphans who were brought together in this 13th monastery to be raised as criminals, they're all like so excited to go off on this mission, and it's trials and tribulations, and it's so like there's so much planning involved, and honestly my biggest problem with it was how well the planning was pulled off. Like, no plan should ever survive contact with the enemy. That is in my mind how you write a story, but this one, no. It was great and amazing, and it was just so fascinating. The writing style just took a hot second to get used to. Throughout the story, you get to see Locke as a child in one chapter, and then the next chapter you get to see in current day of him pulling off the heist. There's only a little bit afterwards in the book that you realize everything you learn in the flashback is relevant to the next chapter. So it's kind of back and forth between past and present. That's what kind of takes a hot second to get used to, but it's so amazing and wonderful, and the way that everything's pulled off, and you get to see him grow and develop, and why he's doing the things that he's doing. It's just, I love it so much. So I need to read book 2, which is Rise of the Red Sea, which hopefully focuses on pirates. I love the concept of books about pirates. I've yet to read a good one. So, super excited, a little hesitant, but super excited. The next series I need to finish. I've actually been looking for book 2 every time I go into the bookstore. They never have it. So I actually have a hard time of pronouncing these series titles. So I'm just going to say book 1 and book 2. And there's a book 3. I don't know what the title is though. So book 1 is The Serpent Kingdom, which is all about this girl who is raised in our world. She's young. She's from an Indian family who's like, hey, you're a princess and we love you. And she's like, okay, mom and dad. And until one day her mom and dad are kidnapped, and it's revealed that she actually is a princess from the secret magical kingdom from Indian mythology, and it's so cool and wonderful and awesome, and she has to travel into this magic world and like work with 2 other princes to try and save her parents, and it's awesome and it's cool. Book 2 is all about her following through with like her discovery of who her real parents are, like why she's living in the mortal world when even though she's kind of not, and it's awesome and it's cool. So book 2 is Game of the Stars, which I have been dying to read because I need this in my life. Book 1 was amazing. I actually read it while I was in Disneyland, so to me it's like associated with the magic and wonder, and I just cannot wait to read book 2 because I had such good luck like during this time period of reading middle grade books, and I want to get back into that flow, and I'm so excited, which I say for everything, and yet I have not read any of these books yet, so I'm working on it. This is just me saying I want to, I just need to get there. And the final series I have to talk about is the Mistborn trilogy. So I read book 1 a while ago. I'm currently rereading it because I read it and then proceeded to forget everything that was in this book. I have vague memories of very key plot points, and that is about it. So I'm currently almost done rereading the first book, The Final Empire. I can hopefully finish this today. There's only like 100 pages left in this book. Super amazing and wonderful. It takes place in this world where long ago the chosen hero was destined to save the world, and instead of saving the world, he took over it. And 1,000 years have passed, and the same ruler has held the empire together for 1,000 years, and now this ragtag group of criminals, which again, my keywords, are going to take down the final empire, overthrow him, and it's just going to be awesome and wonderful. And the magic system, which everyone talks about when talking about this book, is the Mistborn thing, which is like you burn metals that you consume, and it's cool and it's amazing. And I have the box set up here, which I will have Ascension in Hero of Time. They're all the US covers. I'm not a big fan of the US covers. UK covers look so much cooler, but this is what I have. So working on rereading this, and as soon as I'm done with that, I'm going to try and get the audiobooks in for the next two, because your girl can't read high fantasy just by reading it. I need to dual read it because my brain doesn't work like this. So those are all the books I need to read in the near future. Like, I am going to get to these one way or another. It's just going to take me a hot second. So thank you guys all so much for watching. If you want to push any of these books further up on my TBR, please leave that down in the comment section down below. And while you're there, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. As always, good night, good evening, and good morning, everybody.